What if Steven Gerrard never slipped against Chelsea in 2014? Well, today let's have a little discussion about it. So as we all know, the famous Gerrard slip against Chelsea, which led Demba Ba through onto goal and obviously scoring the goal. And it was in the third to last Premier League game for Liverpool and ultimately losing them the title. But there's obviously the question is, would Liverpool have won the league if Gerrard hadn't have slipped? Now most people would answer that question to yes, but when you think about a Premier League game, every game's not linear. Just because Gerrard wouldn't have slipped doesn't mean Chelsea couldn't have gone on to score and doesn't mean Liverpool could have gone on to lose the game. Now obviously this was devastating for all Liverpool fans when Gerrard slipped because we all wanted Liverpool to win the league and obviously we all wanted Gerrard to win a title as well. As one of the biggest points with Gerrard when we're in the discussion of greatest Premier League midfielders is that Gerrard hasn't won a league title. So if he hadn't have slipped and we would have won the league, would he have then been considered the greatest midfielder of all time? It's a big question because when you think of like Paul Scholes, everyone compares him to Scholes and you compare the trophies, you think Scholes has won so many more trophies with Man United, but then you think, look at the team that Scholes was in at the time. Man United were dominating everything, and you look at Liverpool and Gerrard was in a semi-average team, but bossing that team. So if Liverpool had have won the title that year, then I think it would have been a no-brainer that Gerrard is the best midfielder of all time. But let me know what you guys think on that one. If Gerrard hadn't have slipped, do we think that his career would have been longer or shorter? And would he have stayed at Liverpool for longer? Because obviously we know shortly after he moved to LA Galaxy in America, stayed out there for a little bit and then sort of ended his career and then became a manager. But if he hadn't have slipped and he'd gone on to win the league with Liverpool, do you think he would have just ended his career there because he's achieved everything that he wanted to achieve as a player? I do think that would have been the end of Gerrard's career if he had have won the league that year, because I don't think he would have needed to have a move to America just to sort of win a few trophies there. So obviously, then Klopp came in as the manager, but the question for Klopp is, would Klopp's era felt so special if Gerrard hadn't have slipped and Liverpool would have won the league that year? Because when Klopp came in, he did do a speech with doubters to believers, but if we had already won the league then we wouldn't have been doubters, we would have already been believers because we would have seen it have happened before. So when Klopp won the league finally with Liverpool, would it have been as special as it was back then? I don't think it would have. I think it would have just been another league title to celebrate, but nothing as special as it was when we actually did win it. And when you look at Klopp as a manager, the main two trophies that he won were the Champions League and the Premier League, and he only won the Premier League once. But if we'd already won it back then, I just don't think it would have been as special with Klopp, and I think it would have put a completely different eye on Klopp as a manager. So when you look at it that way, you are kind of glad that Gerrard did slip back then, and we did end up losing that game. Now back to that game when Gerrard did slip. If we had have then won that game and Gerrard didn't slip, then we'd still have 2 more games of the season. And we know what football is like. Just because we have 2 games left and we were doing good at the time doesn't mean that we're going to win the game. So it doesn't mean necessarily that we're going to win the league. So you've got to think about it that way, as in, just because he did slip and that lost us the game doesn't necessarily mean that we would have then gone on to win the league if we had have won that game. And I think you've got to look at it differently, as in compare it to this season. With Arne Slot, we're not doing very well. And you compare it to the last season where we won the league, we were dominating everyone, and now we're not doing anything. So anything can happen in football. Even the number 1 side in the league has now dropped off. So just because we would have won that game, it could have been a totally different story to us actually winning the league. I do actually think if we would have won it, then it would have had a completely different look on Gerrard, as when you think of Gerrard and you think of the trophies, you instantly think of 2005 winning the Champions League. But if he did win the Premier League, would that then make the Champions League less special? Because I actually think it would. I think looking back on the Champions League, you think it was such a miracle of a game that we won that. But then looking at the Premier League and winning the Premier League, I think that would have been Gerrard's new sort of favourite thing. And I don't think the Champions League would have been as special as it is now. And then another one with the fans. Obviously, when they see Gerrard, they all sing his chant about him slipping on his arse. But they won't have that to sing anymore, so I guess that'll be a positive for Liverpool fans. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this scenario, and if you agree with me, and if you'd like any other sort of what-if style videos. But don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.